Your whole entire life can change in 6 months with focus, discipline, consistency, and the right changes when it comes to lifestyle and habit. Everything can change for you, but you have to be willing to do the work and you have to be willing to make the change yourself. Nobody is going to come and do it for you. And for me, the reason why I wanted to make this video is because about 7 months ago, that is when I made the change. That is when I stopped drinking and I stopped looking at the sites, okay? About 7 months ago, I went to Penn State for the weekend with my dad and with my brother, and I ended up drinking way too much. The game started at 7, but the tailgate was at 11, and so I was drinking the entire time up until the game. And this is from someone who doesn't really drink. At the time, even though I was still drinking, this was like the first time in a month, and I got very drunk. I got plastered, and I made a fool of myself. I got super angry, super mad, and I lost control, I felt like, of my emotions and who I was as a person. And after that weekend, I decided it is no longer in my cards to be drinking alcohol and to be looking at the sites. That weekend, I also, indulged, and I shouldn't have done that, but it is what it is. And I remember the flight home coming back to Texas, and I remember the drive home coming back to Texas. I was extremely quiet. I wasn't saying anything. I was just thinking, and I just had this realization that this life is not for me. The drinking, the alcohol, the smoking, the websites, the graphic stuff, it is not for me, and I needed to make a change, a permanent one that is never going to change, right? And so that is what I decided that day. I committed to making that change, to not drinking again and to not looking at those websites again anymore. And 7 months later, I can say that I committed to that and I did it, and I'm free from the websites, free from alcohol, and I want to break down how this changed my life for me, okay? So there's two categories that literally that change started for me. One is going to be lifestyle, and the second is going to be habit, right? And when I was on that drive home, I was thinking, okay, if I'm going to stop drinking, if I'm going to stop looking at these sites, I have to switch out these habits for some better ones. I have to have systems and rules and routines in place so I never get myself in that situation, so I'm not in that environment. And eventually at some point when I do get into that environment, I have control over my mind, over my thoughts, over my body, and so I'm not going to make any rash decisions, right? So I needed to have a system. I needed to have habits. I needed to make changes, and lifestyle and habit are the two changes I met. So obviously the very first lifestyle change that I went through was no more alcohol, right? Now, I am not saying you never have to drink in your entire life again. I think I spelled that wrong. Anyways, I'm not saying you have to drink in your entire life ever again. You're done. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be that extreme. For me, I felt like there's no point, and at this point in my life, after being off of it for 7 months, I don't really see the point of going back and drinking alcohol when it's literally doing nothing for me, right? But you don't have to cut it out for the rest of your life. But what I will say, for 6 months, you need to cut it out, okay? And the reason why is because alcohol is just surrounded by so much bullshit, so much dumb shit. You get hungover, you waste your time, you waste your energy, you waste your money, you chase women, you stay out too late, you lower your testosterone levels, you increase your cortisol, you increase your estrogen, you put on fat onto your body. I can keep going. Like, I know you don't want me to keep going, but alcohol is just toxic. Alcohol is no good for you. So in this 6-month period, you have to stop drinking. No more alcohol. That is the first step, right? If you are someone who's in college, who's in your early 20s, and this is what you like to do, and this is how you like to have fun, quitting this will separate you from everybody else, because everybody your age is addicted to this. They are addicted to partying, to going out, right? But when you stop drinking, you know what happens? Your energy increases, your mood increases, your physique increases, your money increases, right? You have more time, you have more money, you have more resources, you have more energy. All of this stuff goes up, right? And when I think about myself and when I was drinking, even when it was, one time a week, one time a month, once every 2 weeks, even when I was tapering off, right? Every Sunday I would spend hungover. Every Sunday I would spend scrolling on Instagram. And you know what scrolling on Instagram leads to, right? That is how it was for me. So I would waste an entire day of my life scrolling on Instagram, laying in bed, being hungover, having no energy, having no drive to do anything because I just spent the night before out till 2 a.m. chasing pussy and nothing happened, right? Maybe sometimes I got lucky, but honestly, it was just a waste of time. money, and energy. And even when I did get lucky, it wasn't worth it. It's never worth it at the end of the day. It's not worth spending one whole day of your life in bed because you are so hungover that you can't do anything. It is not worth it, okay? And it's not worth your sleep. Your sleep gets way better too. So that is the first lifestyle change you have to make. No more alcohol. And the habit change that is going to help you be able to do this is setting a bedtime alarm every single night, right? Set a bedtime alarm 30 minutes before you have to go to sleep, okay? And I'm going to break down why you want to do this 30 minutes before you go to sleep, okay? And the number one reason why you want to do this 30 minutes before you go to sleep is because when this alarm goes off, let's say you have to go to bed at 10 and this alarm goes off at 9:30, right? That signifies preparation for the day ahead, right? That alarm doesn't signify go to bed. That alarm signifies preparation for the day ahead, okay? Anything that isn't prepared for isn't a job well done, right? If you went into a meeting with no preparation, you'd be screwed. If you went into a presentation with no preparation, you'd be screwed. If you went into a game with no preparation, you'd be screwed, right? You have to prepare. And so you have to prepare for the day ahead, okay? That bedtime alarm 30 minutes before sleep is your signification of preparation before the next day, okay? And also, another thing that it signifies is you getting off your phone for the night, right? If you want to have good sleep, if you want to have deep and REM sleep every single night, you must get off your phone 30 minutes before bed, or else you're going to have blue light, you're going to be looking at your phone, and your brain is going to be in a state where it's continuing to work, and you are not going to be able to fall asleep right away like you should if you weren't on your phone 30 minutes before bed. So 30 minutes before sleep marks preparation. And what I want you guys to do in this 30-minute time frame, right? You should brush your teeth, you should wash your face, yes. But what else you should do is that you should do what I like to call the I'm going to put it right here, the 5-4-5 method, okay? And what the 5-4-5 method is, and I want you to write this out every single night when that bedtime alarm goes off. And additionally, when that bedtime alarm goes off, no matter where you are, no matter what you are doing, you need to get your ass home and you need to get in bed and start to do your 5-4-5, right? That is what the bedtime alarm is for. I don't care if you're with a girl, I don't care if you're at the bars, I don't care if you're with a friend. This is time for you to prepare for the next day. This is time for you to lock in and change your life, right? If you have this epiphany when your alarm goes off, you have this split decision, right? Your alarm goes off, maybe you're out with a friend, you're out with a girl. This right here is calling you to prepare for the next day and to focus on changing your life and to focus on your goals. And this right here is you reverting back to your old self. So think about that every single time your bedtime alarm goes off, and remember that. Because now when it goes off, you're gonna think, okay, am I choosing my goals or am I choosing my old self and not changing my life, right? That is the choice at the end of the day when you make it for not going with your bedtime alarm, right? And another thing that the bedtime alarm signifies and helps you stay away from is the partying, is the alcohol, is the girls, is the drugs, right? All of that shit happens after 9:30, 10 p.m. All of it does. It happens at night. 90% of that stuff happens at night. It happens in the dark. And so when you go to bed when it's dark, instead of going out, instead of going to party, a lot of dumb shit is avoided, right? Early pregnancies, getting drunk, being hungover, DUIs, all different type of stuff is avoided when you just go to fucking bed. It's so simple, right? So when you have this alarm going off, you want to do your 5-4-5, okay? And what that is what you want to write out is 5 goals, right? 5 goals you want to accomplish in the next 6 months. Okay, so this could be physique, this could be financial, this could be mental, this could be spiritual, this could be body, whatever it is. Whatever you want to really, really accomplish, this could be relational. In the next 6 months, write down 5 goals, okay? And then write down your 4-step morning routine after that. So when you wake up, you know exactly what you need to do to hit the ground running and have a great start to your day. Okay, so for me, what I do every single morning when I wake up and what I write down in my journal for that number 4 is 1, drink 32 ounces of water, make my bed, cold shower, meditate, boom, then I start my day, okay? That's all you need to write down. Your brain needs to know exactly what to do for the next day. And when you write this down 30 minutes before bed, you are preparing yourself for that day. You're thinking about it, and then you have 8 hours to sleep on it, prepare, review, and get ready for that next day, okay? And then number 5 is gonna be the 5 daily needle moving tasks that you need to accomplish in order to get to your goals, right? So the 5 needle moving tasks to reflect those goals, right? How are you gonna improve your physique? How are you gonna make more money that day? How are you gonna get a better relationship? What are you going to do to accomplish that goal? Because you have to put in some type of work in order to get there. You can't just write it down, think about it, and then not do shit about it, right? You have to have some type of action, whether it's 1 hour of working on your business, 1 hour of working on your physique, maybe you're talking to a new girl, whatever the case may be. Write down what you need to do to move the needle in your life. The other thing that you want to change in your life is your diet, right? You want to stick to a diet. And not just any diet, right? I could just say diet and leave it at that. And you'd be like, okay, what kind of diet? You want a diet that is going to increase your testosterone, increase your energy, and increase your overall masculinity and who you are as a man. And that is through the animal-based diet, okay? Right? 6 months ago, I had been eating the animal-based diet for quite some time before I made all my changes. But having it be locked in for the past 6 months to a year, it is the best thing ever. I have made more progress with my physique in the gym through this diet than through any other diet in my entire life. And I feel my best. I have greater energy. I have greater mood. And every day I wake up motivated and have drive. And I personally believe it is because of diet. And I think diet makes up of 50 to 60% of this equation, right? You could be quitting alcohol. You could be setting a bedtime alarm. But if your diet is shit, it's going to mess up everything in your life, right? You must be able to have discipline with what goes in your mouth. And you must be able to control that and put it in the right places, right? Eat the right things. Your diet is fuel, right? Your diet is either going to help you build muscle, help you look better, help you feel better, or it's going to ruin everything for you. It's going to make you fat, overweight, no energy, no mood, nothing, okay? Low testosterone, you don't want that. And so you want your diet to be a tool. And the animal-based diet is the best tool that you can have in your entire arsenal. And what you want to be eating with the animal-based diet is red meat, eggs, rice, fruits, and then you can also do something like seafood twice a week, okay? If you do this right here every single week, your physique is going to look insane. You're going to have way more energy, greater mood, greater testosterone, all of that stuff. I have a client, his name is Raul, and for his entire life, he had been eating the traditional bodybuilding diet, right? Protein shakes, chicken, broccoli, rice. And I switched him to the ground beef, eggs, the animal-based diet, right? And in 2 weeks, we've been texting, we've been talking back and forth, and he just is so amazed with how he feels, his energy, what he does on a daily basis, how much more locked in he is because of his diet. And now he is like addicted to having this diet because he knows the feeling that it's going to get, and he sees the results with the gym, with his physique, with his energy, with his mood, all of that different type of stuff, right? That was the number one thing that stood out to him when I got him on my program was diet. And so diet is the most important thing, guys. It's going to increase your testosterone. It's going to increase your energy. It's going to give you greater mood, right? It's going to give you the ability to work all hours of the day because you have higher energy. The second habit change is going to be something that is more for your mind, okay? Obviously, when you do your 5-4-5, that's very important and you want to do that. But after you do your 5-4-5, you want to read, okay? You want to read before you go to bed because it's going to be a smooth and easy transition right before you go to sleep. So that is the second thing. But on top of reading, what you want to do every single day is you want to meditate and read every day, okay? Obviously, those things are going to work your mind and your intellect and your ability to just be present, grounded, focused, disciplined, have the ability to control your mind. A lot of this stuff just comes down to controlling your mind, right? When you have the urge to drink alcohol and your body wants alcohol, you have the urge and you have the power within you to tell it no, right? You've done that before. You've told your mind no. You've also told your mind yes, and that led to destruction, right? You've also told your mind, hey, I can stay out a little bit later. I can stay out past my alarm. And then the next day you feel groggy, you don't have energy, all that different type of stuff, and you felt guilty because you stayed out past your alarm, okay? So all of this comes down to is controlling your mind and doing the right actions every single day. So obviously, I only really recommend reading right before bed. You don't really want to be spending your time during the day when you could be working, could be making a business, could be making content, could be going to the gym reading. It's not really the greatest ROI. You want to be spending your time in the day working and getting better as a man. But at night, I would definitely recommend to read at least 10 pages of a book every single day before you go to bed, because reading is a great way to kind of reset your brain, reset your dopamine levels, and have something to focus on for a certain amount of time to train your attention. The other thing that I want you guys to do, and we'll kind of keep this on habit number 2, is 60 to 90 minutes of deep work every day, okay? A lot of what I'm telling you guys to do right now is about changing your mind, is about controlling your mind. That is how you are going to change your life, is through changing your habits, your lifestyle, but changing how you think, changing how you control your mind, right? If you've always had this impulsive behavior, if you've always identified with your mind, whenever it brings up certain things you want to just think about, you want to be emotional, you want to be irrational, right? A lot of that stuff stems from your mind and how it's thinking, right? And so if you want to be able to control your mind and do the right things, a lot of it comes down to meditating, reading, having more attention throughout your day, and understanding you have to disidentify from your mind and you have to have some focused attention throughout the day. So 60, 90 minutes of deep work a day is one of, if not the best way to really increase your level of attention, right? There are going to be times when you're doing this deep work and you want to reach for your phone. You want to reach for a notification. You want to search something dumb on the internet. You want to look on YouTube really quick, right? But when you withhold that feeling, withhold that urge to move out of the work that you're doing and you stay in it, you stay focused, you stay in that uncomfortability, that is when you grow the most. That is when you are able to control your mind the most, is when you have that focused attention for long periods of time. Something that is so essential, especially if you are a man, is to just sweat/work out every day, right? Now, obviously I'm not saying you guys go into the gym and pick up heavy weights every single day and lift every single day of your life, right? Your body eventually at a certain point is going to break down if you are doing that, and it's just not very smart. But what I do think you guys should do is you guys should start sweating or working out every single day, right? And this doesn't even need to be anything crazy. For me, I lift 6 days a week, right? That is enough. That is enough for 99.9% of the population. But on that 7th day, on that Sunday, what I like to do to still sweat is I like to go to the gym, do a little stretch, right? Hang, stretch my body, foam roll, go for a nice little walk, and boom. I still controlled my mind to tell it, you need to move your body, right? You need to move your body, you need to work yourself out, right? You can do any type of thing to sweat in a single day. You could play a sport, you could play tennis, you could play pickleball, you could go to the gym and do what I do, which is foam rolling, stretching, whatever the case may be, you have to move your body every single day. Third and final habit change is something that I've dealt with on a personal level for basically my entire life. From the ages of 13 to 24, I've dealt with this, and it is kind of embarrassing for me to say, but it's been something that has been a struggle for me to overcome. And that is masturbating. That is beating my meat, okay? From the ages of 13 to 24, this has been a struggle for me. And it wasn't until that weekend at Penn State 7 months ago when I stopped completely, when I stopped fully. Okay, and the reason why I stopped fully is because I got control of social media. Okay, this was the third habit that I got control of, right? I recognized myself that the reason why I would ever go to these websites was a combination of two things: alcohol and social media, right? Social media is scrolling is what I got control of and I got rid of, okay? Right? Whenever I saw a hot girl on Instagram, I went on my Explore page, I saw a girl, it would make me want to immediately go to those websites. It would make me want to immediately start pleasuring myself, right? It would make me uncontrollably horny, and I wasn't able to control my mind. That was the problem, okay? So the social media scrolling, it had to go. I had to get rid of it. I had to have that exit my life. Right? That was the trigger for me, and I know that's a trigger for a lot of you guys. For me, it was alcohol and social media scrolling, because those two things involve women. Those two things involve women putting themselves out there right in front of your face. But that doesn't mean they sleep with you. That doesn't mean they have sex with you. That doesn't mean they hook up with you. Doesn't mean any of those things, right? So the problem for me was I would look on social media and it would lead me down to that website. So I understood that that trigger needed to go. So I got off social media. I deleted the app off my phone, and I recognized that alcohol and social media were my triggers, so that is what I needed to do to get rid of that habit. And 7 months later, it worked. It worked for me. I am no longer looking at those websites anymore. You have to look at social media like, am I using this tool for good, or am I using this tool to destruct myself? If I'm using it to destruct myself, I need to get rid of it. That is what your mindset needs to be. That is how you have to do it, right? Or else you're going to keep getting triggered and you're going to keep falling into this loop, this dopamine loop of you looking at a girl on Instagram and then you go into the website. You looking at a girl on Instagram and you go into the website. You have to cut out the social media, and then you cut out the trigger, you cut out the thing. Out of sight, out of mind, okay? So these are all the changes that I made that really, really helped my life and got me on the right track in 6 months.